TAG Northwest Predictions 2022 with Mark Anderson event. We are so excited that you're here. We are coming to you live from Bellingham, Washington at the Veritas Media Studios and Studio V, and we have a fantastic program for you today. At first, we want to talk a little bit about the agenda and the format for today. So if you could go to our event page. You're already there. You're watching this. Around the event page, you're going to find our information about our community hub, which is our Discord server, and there you'll find how to access our live event chat. This Discord server is a online chat platform. We have a channel set up specifically for today in the predictions channel. There's also a V predictions channel for our voice and video chat. So if you would like to, at any time, jump into either of those chat channels and discuss amongst yourselves, and also at 3 p.m. After our sort of production today, we're going to have a small, virtual small group chat discussion. Frankly, just to talk about Mark's predictions and what your thoughts of them are, and maybe what your predictions are. So just a good time to discuss. So we wanted to do a sort of a larger welcome here. We have several folks that are going to join us today, and I'm going to kick it off with a welcome, a TAG annual kickoff of section, and then we're going to bring on Mark for his predictions and some guests also. So that's what is in store for us. But before we go to that, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today, our predictions sponsors. And they have really allowed us to put on this event. We're really thankful for everyone here. And I'd like to recognize Pattern Computer and Strategic News Service for their support. These are also Mark's companies, and they're doing fantastic work. We're going to hear more about them later today. As well as Port of Bellingham. Thank you for your support of TAG, and also Principal. And we're going to hear more about our marketing team from Soul Graphics and Varvid and Veritas Media in a bit. And thank you for your support for predictions, as well as Wacom Community College. So thank you so much, everybody, for your support of TAG and allowing this event to occur. Next, we have our TAG Platinum members. I'd love to thank our Platinum members at the top here. These are our most engaged members. We appreciate your in-kind and financial support for TAG. This is really what allows TAG to do all the things that we do, and we really appreciate your support directly and throughout our events, our programs. We have Intersys, formerly Alpha Technology, or recently merged into Intersys and Alpha Technology. Insight Center, again, Pattern Computer and Principal. A new Platinum member, Skagit Valley College. Thank you for joining us for 2022. As well as Soul Graphics, Strategic News Service, Varvid, Veritas Media, Wacom Educational Credit Union, Western Washington University, and Wacom Community College. So again, thank you everyone for your support. And around here, if we would be live in person, I'd be asking for a round of applause. So thank you very much. Awesome. So we have a spotlight that I'd like to share, and that is for this event, this live stream event. As I mentioned, we're here at Veritas Studios, and really there's been a lot of awesome work from our marketing committee members who are Soul Graphics, Veritas Media, and Varvid. And again, I can't thank y'all enough for your support of TAG. With Soul Graphics focused on graphic and web design, Varvid assisting in so much of our event and live stream activities, and Veritas Media, a little bit of those things, plus video production, and we're here live from Studio V. So again, thank you so much for that. We're going to feature each of these companies and what they do and how they support TAG. And again, we're so appreciative. First up, we have Soul Graphics with their focus on web design and graphic design, and our own Matt Bain, president of the board of TAG, leads that organization, and their team's fantastic, and we have a video for you to watch.
Hey, my name is Matt Bain. I'm the owner of Soul Graphics, a local Bellingham design, marketing, and development digital agency. So our core services would be digital marketing. So if you're talking about, placing advertisements online, search engine optimization, showing up in Google and Bing as far as search results go. Website development, and that ranges from web-based applications using tools like React, Vue.js. Then we do your typical websites. We'll build those out by hand or in WordPress or in a really kind of fun platform called Statamic. We do that for a lot of clients. And then the e-commerce side of things, we build a number of e-commerce websites. On the design side, we do branding materials as far as print, brochure, etc., as well as user interface design. We have switched from national and international business to more local and regional businesses over the past 5 or 7 years. And something I really appreciate about that is seeing Bellingham-based businesses grow and thrive. And so I feel like we get a lot of wins. Clients that we work with locally, seeing their business grow to the point where they can hire that nth employee or take over that new space, create jobs for somebody, afford to pay that nth dollar for maybe the medical program they always wanted to do but haven't. So I take a lot of personal pride in that and seeing Bellingham businesses succeed partially due to our help.
Thank you, Matt. We appreciate you again. We have a little kickoff here at the top before we bring out Mark. I know you're all excited for that to happen, but we want to, as we have you captured, share with you what we've been doing for 2021, what's new for 2022, and highlight a few other things that we've been up to. So first, I'd like to share our 2021 highlights. And that has been, as you would imagine, I'm sure your 2021 was also filled with excitement and challenges and successes. Here are ours. So throughout the year, and we talked about this really going back to 2019, we have completed our 501c3 nonprofit transition. I'm so excited to share this. We are now fully, all of our programs, all of our events have all transitioned to the 501c3 new organization we created in summer 2020. And we have been leveraging some of those benefits organizationally and some of the things we're going to talk about today. Two of those are our fundraisers that we had last year. And I wanted to highlight specifically the Bellingham Codes plus TAGNW Scholarship Fundraiser last April. We raised over $12,000 for scholarships at each of our local colleges and university, and that is Skagit Valley College, Bellingham Technical College, Western Washington University, Wacom Community College, and Northwest Indian College. And in the Bellingham Codes scholarship specifically, we did an additional fundraiser to feature numerous scholarships for students at Northwest Indian College as a special fundraiser effort there. And we appreciate the Bellingham Codes community for their support and really providing these fantastic resources for our community. In addition to that fundraiser, we had our Bash 2021 fundraiser this summer, really the end of summer, if you will. And that is ongoing. There'll be some links for you to provide your support if you would like, but current up to date, we're at about $6,500 for our next scholarships, and the cutoff for that year of funding will be the end of April. So you'll see some information of how you can donate to the scholarship fundraiser now. Additionally, we have our community hub, which you may be on, which is the Discord server that we have at TAG. We are about 500 or so folks in the community are using the Discord server to interact in our general discussion. Our all of our events and our programs are organized at the community hub, as well as any other discussion topics that you could think of. Also, we have our community groups are focused on the community hub as well. That allows us to interact and really particularly at a time during COVID when it's hard to have in-person events often or at all. We are connected anytime, all the time at the hub. And so our many community groups that are focused on technical disciplines like IT, cybersecurity, engineering, robotics, and so forth. They have their own channels, and they can chat there amongst themselves and between each groups and other general chat channels for just a variety of conversations. So check that out if you aren't there. So that's the pitch to get you there. And if you're already there, you're probably in the predictions channel talking about this now. In addition to those sort of member programs and systems, we have our Reconnect program. Our Reconnect program provided technology services and resources to people in need. That program started this summer, and it was providing a collaboration between TAG and the Bellingham Public Library and Computers for People in Need to put together computer kits for people through those social service agencies such as Opportunity Council, the Evergreen Goodwill, and Northwest Regional Council. We've been able to provide sort of a pilot program for those computers, and we hope to continue that. So if you are looking to recycle some of your old computers, feel free to donate them to Computers for People in Need, and we'll fold them into the Reconnect program. So again, thank you so much for your support there. We also had several consulting-related projects to provide technology consulting to nonprofit organizations through our direct consulting program and also our nonprofits community group. And I wanted to speak a little bit about our career launch programs. Our career launch programs have been really the focus of our last year of projects with Wacom Community College. We're going to have Wacom talk a little bit in a moment, but real briefly, the idea was to sort of assist and collaborate with Wacom as they created a new software development program and refresh their CIS program to include career launch, which is the idea of career launch has been really to bring industry, businesses, local businesses, community groups like TAG, and education like Wacom, all together to really the benefit of all, but particularly for students transitioning into the workforce, and really helping businesses find those the right skills they need for their businesses and the jobs that they have available. So really, the whole system has been really supportive. And for that, I'd like to introduce Michelle Heitman of Wacom Community College to come in and talk a little bit about that program.
Learning in preparation for high demand, high wage careers. So this fall, due to our first collaborative project with TAG and with support from local industry partners, Wacom has launched our new Associate in Applied Science and Software Development. And this is a workforce program that provides students with a solid foundation in back and front end programming. And it's an applied technical degree that includes internships with our local industry partners, which we are so grateful for. So thank you. And this month, we're wrapping up our second successful career launch partnership with TAG to refresh and enhance our computer information systems program. And through industry input and engagement, we have redeveloped our program to include specialty pathways for students to focus their training on either networking, cloud computing, data utilization, or unmanned aircraft systems. So Wacom's dedicated to ensuring we have a streamlined education pathway for students. So we want to highlight that these are workforce programs that prepare students to enter directly into those high demand, high wage careers, but we've also developed multiple articulation agreements so students can also, when they're ready, transition to bachelor's level programs at other colleges or complete their bachelor's in applied science and IT networking, cybersecurity at Wacom. So one last exciting update as part of our career launch project is TAG is relaunching their mentorship program that pairs mentees one-on-one with local technology professionals. So we're excited for Wacom students to be able to utilize this program for professional relationships, training, and all the resources that it offers. So please review the TAG mentorship page to apply to be a mentor or mentee. And please don't hesitate to reach out to learn more about our programs here at Wacom or talk more about industry partnerships. So please email workforce@wacom.edu. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And it was a fantastic year of work that we just completed. And looking forward to what 2022 has in store for us in Career Launch. And speaking of which, we have some announcements for 2022. First off, to follow up with what Michelle spoke about, we have our mentorship program, which is relaunching this winter. You're going to get a lot of information about that next week, and as well as the applications are open now. Our mentorship program has been expanded with the help of Wacom Community College to, in addition to the cohort model that Michelle discussed, where we pair students or sort of junior members of the TAG community with a more senior mentor, but also to include on-demand mentorship for mentors to quickly connect with folks that are looking for professional development help, as well as peer mentorship, which is a really exciting program that we've put together for folks of any sort of point in their career to be matched with somebody in a pretty similar point to, rather than have sort of a mentee and mentor combination in mentorship, you're really doing mentorship together in a joint professional development experience. So if you like the idea of doing any one of those varieties of mentorship, we would love for you to join the program, and you'll be able to apply at our web page under programs at tagnw.org/mentorship. And we'll have our links for this on our page right after this video. In addition to mentorship, our new programs that we've developed throughout the year, particularly working with Wacom Community College to complement the career launch process, has been our internship support program, which will launch this spring, but it'll roll out over the next few months. And particularly the idea with internship support is to assist the businesses that are participating in internship and the industry partners that are participating in the Career Launch program to really assist them in either creating a program of their own for internship or expanding their existing program. And so that's the business support side of that, as well as student support to provide them really the professional development and workforce sort of expectations and experience they'll need to really take the most advantage of an internship experience. And similar to internship, we'll be launching our Job Shadow program. Our Job Shadow program will be similar to internship in the sense that in internship you have a paid work-based learning experience. With Job Shadow, this will be a short, 2 to 12-hour internship like experience with Job Shadow, where you'll really pair up with a business for a Job Shadow experience and really just be shown the ropes, so to speak, or shadow an existing project or some such of a career that you may be interested in. You can apply for the Job Shadow program as a Job Shadow-E at our link on our webpage under Job Shadow, which is going to be tagnw.org/jobshadow. We're really excited to announce the next program, which is our Service Corps program. Service Corps is going to be our own internship program. This year, throughout 2022, TAG will be hiring our own direct interns in a variety of technology roles, from CIS, cybersecurity, communications, social media, web design, graphic design, really the breadth of technology to create programs for the benefit of nonprofit organizations, public organizations, tribal organizations, that really will provide them the technology support that they need so desperately to really connect with the folks that can support them. And this will allow them to execute their mission, and allow TAG to help in doing so. So we're excited for that. So our job descriptions for the Service Corps program will be posted next week. We would love for you to review those and consider applying, and we hope to kick things off in March. So keep an eye out on our Service Corps program. Related to the Service Corps program, we have our Volunteers program. The Volunteers program is live now. The purpose is to collect professional or real interested folks that are wanting to participate in community service here in Bellingham and in our area. And one of our excited connections in the volunteer program will be to assist the Service Corps program in some of their programs, and some of their projects. And so if you are a professional looking for a way to give back to the community, we're creating a platform for you to do exactly that. So look for the volunteer program and the Service Corps program, as well as our others that we've talked about here. Thank you so much. We have our Wacom STEM program to talk about also. It's been a busy 2021. And our Wacom STEM program is going to be launching also this winter. You'll get more information next week. But Wacom STEM is a new collaboration to create a STEM network in Wacom County. And we are so excited for this to launch. We've been working on this for quite a bit. And really the goal for Wacom STEM, in addition to creating that STEM network, is to connect all of our fascinating and fantastic organizations and programs that are providing STEM and STEM education and career-connected learning resources in the community already, really raise awareness for those existing programs, create a sort of a collaboration, a community action group to work in concert, and really create progress in our community and to bring STEM education and career-connected learning to everyone. And here is our new logo that you'll be seeing around our programs and events. And Wacom STEM, we have created a fun little octopus character for really new identity that TAG will be able to support in addition to all of our partners. And if you would like to be a partner, if you're already providing STEM programs and resources in the community, you'll have an easy way to plug in and get connected into the program. So we're excited for that. And I've already been talking with many of you already. So thank you so much for that. Now I'd like to transition. Thank you for your attention on our annual kickoff. We're going to be transitioning to the main event. But first, we're going to have Paul Gray, a supporter of the local tech community and prior TAG board member, come on discuss. He is a serial entrepreneur, active in business for the past 50 years, and is currently involved in a fun family business called Prime Party. Paul will introduce Mark in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the spotlight video from Varvid.
I'm Crystal Garcia, and I'm the live production manager here at Varvid. Varvid is a live streaming and virtual events company. We have been bringing events to virtual audiences for almost 2 decades, and we're based right here in Bellingham, Washington. We've worked with small businesses and major brands like Nike, Reddit, Dungeons & Dragons, and more. At Varvid, our mission is connecting people for incredible events through innovative technology and social sharing. We are partnering with our clients and communities to transition the old model of corporate and entertainment conferences, internal meetings, and conventions into modern hybrid and fully virtual events. We do this by increasing the number of attendees your event can reach through streaming, social sharing, and virtual event platforms, using sponsor activations, integrated chat and polling, CRM and lead generation integration, and more. We celebrate using these technologies to bring together a wider range of thought leaders, speakers, and teachers across the nation and the world to collaboratively put on events with your team so that the faces and content in your event can be more diverse, more inspiring, and more creative. Our work involves putting together the hundreds of moving parts that are involved in the production of an event and delighting virtual audiences with a look directly into that event so that they feel like they're fully immersed and connected. You can find out more about us at varvid.com.
Well, welcome. It's become a pattern at this annual TAG Predictions event, yes, pun intended, to have Mark Anderson as our esteemed guest speaker. He's a subject matter expert on many topics and a renowned global speaker, an in-depth newsletter writer, an intrepid entrepreneur, and most importantly, a friend and sponsor of TAG. I mentioned the subject matter expert as part of Mark's credentials. In this world of misinformation where someone with a microphone and a podcast can put themselves out there to millions as an expert, I wanted to remind us all of Mark's academic credentials. Mark earned his bachelor and master's in marine biology and biochemistry from Stanford University and has conducted doctoral work in the biochemical ecology at the University of British Columbia. The point is, Mark is science-based to the core. As you know, I like to catch us all up on Mark's activities since he last graced his presence and wisdom with us. Since this is a predictions event, let's start with the updated accuracy score from last year. It remains at 95.5%. Certainly you've come to the right place for predictions that you can count on. It's been said math is the language of science. It's also the platform for new discoveries of patterns, which takes us to Mark and his team's accomplishments at Pattern Computer this past year. Mark was awarded the Alexandria J. Noble Award for Science Discovery. The award specifically honors fundamental contributions in medicine and computing. These awards emphasize those who are great explainers of scientific discoveries for us lay people, and especially the young minds out there. Other awardees were Bill Gates, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and Dr. Vin Gupta. Also at Pattern Computer, the company improved their novel tests for near real-time diagnostics of SARS and COVID-2 infections. The improved system can be calibrated to perform with 100% sensitivity, that is, detection of positive samples. The Pattern Computer team developed a unique process in computational biology for discovering the genetic causes of a range of cancers, including breast, prostate, ovarian, lung, and colorectal. Pattern Computer announced the opening of the new Pattern Discovery Mathematics Center in San Diego, California. Mark released a seminal paper on the foundation of explainable AI. He released his control theory paper. Simply put, the world breaks cleanly by how it was made, with top-down controls versus centralized controls. This is a teaser to read Mark's new theory in his SNS newsletter. Mark also released parts of 4, 5, and 6 of his resonance theory, and it's the cosmos, the motivating force and organizing principles. And this is just some of the highlights of Mark's miracle year in 2021. To lead the conversation with Mark, we'll have Meg Weber, previous Executive Director of TAG, and Head Instructor of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Western Washington University. Before we bring Meg and Mark on, let's take a look at a video that Veritas Media produced. These are the folks whose space we are in today. The video speaks to our community, looks back on 2021 and forward to 2022. When we come back, Meg, Mark, and myself will dive into the predictions with Mark.
When your heart is racing at the speed of light, and you feel like you got nowhere else to go. No, I'll hold you till the sun comes in the morning light. Yeah, I'll keep you safe, I'll never let you go. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. Yeah, I'll keep you safe. Yeah, I'll keep you safe, I'll never let you go. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. And you feel like you got nowhere else to go. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. When your heart is racing at the speed of light. When your heart is racing at the speed of light.
Back. We've talked about pattern before, so for those who have not attended before, we'd love to jump in and have you share about how pattern was started and why it's exciting.
Pattern was started in a way which seems almost crazy dumb when you think about it, because everyone agrees that pattern recognition is a key attribute of how the brain works.
Yeah.
All of us know that nature is made of patterns. When you're looking at sea waves or bird wings, patterns everywhere. And if you're a computer person, I am, you would ask yourself back in 2015, why had no one ever thought of making a computer for that?
Yeah.
They hadn't. It's really hard to believe. It's kind of arrogant sounding, but they hadn't, you know. So we had the idea of doing that. And I had the ability to use my FIRE conference, which you've been to, Paul's been to. And we have this thing called the CTO Challenge, so it's a little bit like reality TV. And we have 10 world-class CTOs, and they don't know what they're going to get. And we gave them the problem of build that.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty cool foundational story. When we did that, there's a Friday judgment thing. Everybody judges them. They all got high points. And then 2 standing ovations from the crowd. And this is a tough crowd.
Yeah.
CEOs, CTOs. And then by the time they got off stage into the coffee room, we had been funded and staffed.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good indicator that that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's how it got started.
Yeah, I remember that moment. It was so
That was crazy.
It was so remarkable,
Yeah.
and you could just sense all the different things that had gone into that idea and that energy and that moment, and just it was just a vibrant and living experience.
You kind of felt like you were at one, like the invention of the chip. You know, you just kind of felt like this. Remember this moment, because there was never a pattern computer before, and now there is one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Likely very much foddered a lot of your miracle year this year.
It's been an amazing year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Pattern takes all of my time plus 50%, and then there are some other companies too. So, as you know, so it's been a pretty busy year.
Super busy year.
We did drive Pattern. So when we started, we were worthless, you know, I guess. And, you know, it depends who you are. And we managed to build it from, you know, startup to, we just became a unicorn. So we're selling stock now at 1.2 billion, which is past being that. And I think we're just getting started. You know, I really do. It's not about the money. It's about where are you in your milestones. And we just started, you know, making amazing discoveries. So we're just getting going, I think.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of those discoveries because they really are quite remarkable. So one that's very timely, of course, which is your new COVID test.
Yeah, prospectral.
Prospectral.
We used to call it Sunset Island, which is kind of, everything's an island codenamed inside Pattern, but prospectral is the official name.
Okay.
And so we are tracking 400 competitors.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Worldwide.
Yeah.
We're also all in that business.
Yeah.
And we thought that the target was well suited to our math. Berkeley Labs told us that, and it was true. Yeah. And the idea was, you know, vax isn't enough. I know that all the people today
to be vaccinated
believe in
is not
vaccination.
enough.
I've had 3,
Yeah.
But it's not enough. Even if you do that, it's not enough. You have to pair it with very high throughput rapid testing that's very accurate. Without that pairing, you're going to get shutdowns, lockdowns, or hospitalizations.
Yeah.
So what do you do? And so we started working about 2 years ago on this. Took a while to get ramped up. And we have created a box. And the box is pretty cool. Not very big. It's about the size of a piece of paper, 8 inches high. Yeah. And here's what it does. 3 seconds per test.
Wow.
No chemicals required.
Wow.
No reagents, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just light and spit. You spit into a thing, 2 drops, just 2 drops, and 100% accurate.
Yeah. That's remarkable.
Yeah, so I guess $1,200 a month or $1,200 an hour. So it's like a lot. You can put a lot of people through an NFL gate or a IBM headquarters or a government building or hospital, whatever you need, and it's very accurate and very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you at in the production cycle of that?
We've got the name tag figured out.
Yeah, the island has been renamed.
There you go.
You have a flag yet?
No, we don't have it. So we did all the design, we did all the testing that we could do with all the data we have. We're applying for government approval in 5 countries. We have built the hand-built prototypes to make sure it works. Then we ordered prototypes from a company that makes prototypes, and those work. And now we've just made our first production order. So we're now actually moving into production as we look for government help. So as fast as we can get approval in India, the United States, Chile, Australia, and Germany, off we go.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, for all of us that are super eager to get back to sports and
Boy,
music going.
aren't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to have that paired device.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I'm vaxxed, because you don't know if you might still be sick or something.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to say, better than antigen, sooner than antigen. You have to be able to say, I'm okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, wow.
It's a wow.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So in addition to that, noticed that you had published 3 papers in physics this year.
Yeah. True. Actually, in about 8 weeks, turns out.
In 8 weeks. Okay. How?
A lot of typing.
A lot of typing.
Yeah. Well, so resonance, which Paul mentioned, is something that I worked on way back in 1978. Yeah. And it was really the beginning of my recommitment to pattern recognition. So I thought, here's a good test. And I was very interested in physics. Apply pattern recognition to the king of sciences, so I think of physics. Yeah. And so you're coming at it sideways. It's not like I went to Stanford for 50 years and I got a PhD in it, and I took, I learned everything that the standard model, all that kind of stuff, right? The intern idea, right? Didn't do that.
Yeah.
Let's do the opposite of that. Let's take pattern recognition and apply it to a science and see if you see it in a different way.
Yeah.
And it worked. Actually worked. So the result of that was a really deep understanding of a lot of things from a different perspective than usual, which were true in the sense that they were real patterns.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't lead or they do lead somewhere, but they were real patterns. And without going into lots of detail, for the next 30 years or so, I did 3 papers on that. Wow. And then this year I did 3 more. And it all came from a back porch conversation with my good friend Chuck House. A lot of folks know who Chuck House is. He used to be the top tech guy at HP. I think he was the same thing at Intel. He's a brilliant guy, right? Yeah. We're sitting having a beer on my back porch, and he said this, and then everything clicked, right? It all clicked. And the centerpiece of resonance is what it sounds like. the idea that I came up with was that these patterns were leading me to understand space was not empty.
Yeah.
And I actually published a paper called Einstein's Greatest Mistake.
Yeah.
And it was his greatest mistake.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he knew that, but Walter Isaacson, who wrote the bio on him, later told me that Einstein agreed, which is pretty mind-blowing. So that mistake was that space is not empty. Mm-hmm. And once you start using that lens into this whole question of what's the world about, you see things completely differently. So the world that I walked into back in 1980, let's say, was a world of billiard balls, particles, called the particle zoo. Mm-hmm. Frankly, I thought it was kind of a stupid thing to start with. You know, but okay, so here are all these billiard balls, give them names.
Yeah.
It was endless. It was embarrassingly endless.
Yeah.
It's not over yet. But if you flip that and you said, well, what are they made of? Oh, what is light made of? Oh, it's made of space. Oh, space isn't empty. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Now everything you see is through the lens of space and what it's made of, and the properties. The one sentence for that thing is the properties. The laws of physics derive directly from the properties of empty space, which is not empty. Mm-hmm. And then once you've got that, it completely changes how you see the world.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, it's very exciting. So it wasn't that hard to do the 3 papers in 8 weeks. It took about, a decade more of chatting with people and figuring it out. But the writing was easy.
Yeah, so unfair question then. What should we call space if not space?
I call it yellow jello.
Yes.
I don't know.
Not mellow jello.
I think you can't call it the ether because everyone hates that word. But, you got to call it something. I just call it space. But for a long time I said not empty or otherwise than empty. But, let's just be honest about it. It's just space. But space, it turns out, has real properties. Yeah. We've known this since the middle of the 1800s, if not earlier. We just weren't being honest about it. So it's space. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can talk about spatial density. Yeah. Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember once I was at the National Museum of History in New York, and they did an Einstein thing. And they had the picture we've all seen of the rubber sheet with the ball in it, showing gravity, right? Yeah. And there's a really nice woman who's the docent, and she's explaining this, at that time, the state of the knowledge, which was, she was telling this other woman, and I felt like sorry for her, that, okay, here's space-time, it's bending, but there is no such thing as the ether.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to interrupt, but there's a picture of it right there. And there is, you know, so space is real, it has stuff, and it bends, and it has density, and that changes a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Some of which I'm creating arguments about right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remarkable. So next big theory that comes to mind is, what is control theory, and why should we care?
Control theory, I don't even know I don't know whether it's important or not important, but I think it is. And I should apologize because there is already a thing called control theory. I should make up a different name.
I read about it a lot in management theory.
I think it's been around forever. So this is like control theory.
This is way more
number 5 or something. Yeah. But it occurred to me, I was looking at, we have a partnership with the Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, like them a lot. I was watching Thomas Lynch, who's their director, giving a talk, and behind him was an electron micrograph of a cell, the surface of a cell, and it was really rough. It had all kinds of goofy, looked like the moon, you know?
Yeah.
It had like little, is that a building? No, it's a cell. It had all kinds of things. Some were even, some were uneven.
Yeah.
It wasn't, compare it to steel, you know, or some surface, highly polished chip. It was just the opposite of that. And I realized, oh, that's life, right? That's life. That's what life looks like. Yeah. Life is decentralized in control. It's bumpy. It's got all kinds of unexpected things going on all over the place. Whereas the top down, somebody makes an airplane, a Boeing airplane, that Boeing airplane is very smooth.
Yeah.
And I recognized that there was something deep happening there. So the idea of resilience belongs to life, not to Boeing airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want resilience, if you want survival, if you want to have long-term success, you want to have decentralized control. Just like that thing that built that cell.
Yeah.
If you want to have a temporary thing, you build a Boeing airplane, then you have a highly centralized system. So that was the basis of control theory, was that there was this deep difference between top-down control and decentralized control, and it would lead to differences in things like resilience.
Yeah, I love your use of terms and thoughts that are a word that someone else thinks that they understand and a completely different expanded interpretation of it. It tricks us, Mark.
Sometimes I try to invent words and no one knows what they mean, so it's kind of a loser's poker bet. I don't know how to get out of that one.
At all. So you also generated this evolutionary theory called MIGHTY.
Yeah, MIGHTY was the first multiple inheritance of acquired characteristics kind of thing. It was an acronym. That was maybe 12 years ago.
Sure.
I really was bothered. I have studied, as Paul mentioned, I've studied bio for a long time. The whole Darwinian thing seemed goofy to me.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Well, really, I mean, over a beer. And if we were sitting here, I said to you, "Oh, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
We came from random mutations caused by cosmic rays."
Yeah.
You're gonna have to laugh.
I do not agree with it.
So, and I'm not saying that the creator did it. I know there's a lot of people who think that, and maybe I think there's room for science and religion. But basically, that would just be that'd be a laughing, point, because there's no way. Mm-hmm. And, I think sober, scientists look at that proposal with tooth and claw. It's all about, survival of the fittest and stuff. Yeah. You can't get from A to B that fast.
Yeah.
When you watch the evolution of the eye or the evolution of the hand, it's just not going to happen that fast. So the illegal thing was called the inheritance of acquired characteristics, or Lamarckian. It just occurred to me there's got to be more going on. And so I started with MIGHTY, and I kind of worked my way today I call it equilibrium genetics. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's right.
Yeah.
I don't know, we're still waiting for but I will say, I think science is coming in my direction on this. So if we had a bunch of scientists right now here, I could say to them, DNA is not only affected by random mutations, but by other things. And they go, true. Yeah. And I could say, and those other things might include viruses. And they go, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, that might be 13 to 18%. Okay. And then I'd say, yeah, but there's more. And they go, true. And I could say, well, of those things, likely they're involved with epigenetics and how genes express. And maybe there's some vulnerability in there that passed back to the mothership. They go, that could happen. So you're kind of working your way back to the idea that structural changes to DNA can happen in a conversation with the outside world.
Yeah.
That's the equilibrium. Now that was simple, right?
Super simple.
Okay, it's revolutionary. It's totally going to be true.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Remarkable.
How fast and how much and why and who did it, but no question that that's true. Yeah, it's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remarkable. So I'm having so much fun, and we're going to do something a little bit different with our predictions this year. We've decided, team. Which hopefully Paul and I will save a little bit of face in so doing. But,
we're going to have fun.
This year for 2022, we're going to have some fun with the predictions. So Mark's going to share the 2022 predictions, and we're going to have a chat where we unpack them and talk about them. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mark, for the first prediction.
And I want to add something as we start, because this is the result of our conversation.
Yes.
In the past, we have essentially done a rehearsal of something that I had done with SNS in December.
Yes.
And that's fun. I like doing that. But I thought, and I think you both agreed, that it would be more fun to do it this way, where let's add to that instead of just rehearsing that, right?
Yeah.
So, or doing it again. So I think this has the potential benefit for people who have already seen the other video or been there or whatever, to enjoy this even more.
Yeah.
Because we'll be talking in a little bit more depth about each one instead of just rereading them again.
Yeah.
And as people who've been to this TAG event know, I always read them, boring as that is, because as Paul will mention, I'll be graded on them a year later.
Yeah.
So it's not random or kind of how do you feel. So I'll read the first one. Battery technology responds to the most intense financial and innovation pressures in tech history, leading to radical improvements in both energy density and safety. New materials, solid state, cheaper, faster, better. Huge fortunes are bet, lost, and made. That's number one.
So would you share about some of the innovations and roadblocks that are making batteries cheaper, faster, better? Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. First of all, the pressure thing is really true. I think, when you think of pressures on an aspect of technology, there's pressures on autonomous driving right now.
Yeah.
There's pressures on electric cars. There's pressures on make chips better.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's pressure anywhere ever as much as there's been right now on give us better batteries.
Yeah.
Everybody in every industry in the world is saying give us better batteries.
Yeah.
Of every size, every scale, every battery. And the whole idea of rebuilding the grid and everything renewable all depends on batteries. So if you're in the battery business, I feel sorry for you because you're getting phone calls, right? I mean, there's a lot of pressure there. The good news is there's a lot of pressure there.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing people who are really smart, like Elon Musk, put all of their thought toward how to get this done.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who could do it, it's probably Elon. But he's got a lot of competition, as you know. So there are these giga battery factories being made all around the world. He started that process, but there's one being built in Sweden right now, north of Stockholm. The Germans are building one. VW has one. Elon has built a gigafactory in Nevada and in China, and they're building one in Berlin. So these things are just popping up.
Yeah.
There's going to be an increase in not just quantity but quality, like what we have never seen before. But it's a hard thing, and the proof that it's hard is that at a time when we've seen chips go through Moore's law, you double every 18 months or. Well, not so for batteries. Batteries have been very, very slow to improve. Yeah. And it's a hard problem. Yeah. But I do think it's going to get fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard and slow to improve, but a significant bottleneck to a lot of other forms of innovation. So.
Everything we do right now has to have better batteries.
Yeah. I know. We argue about that at home all the time.
Yeah, okay.
All the batteries everywhere.
Unusual dinner conversation, but yeah, okay.
All right. Let's share about the second one.
Rapid, accurate COVID detection, there you go, will be recognized as the necessary complement to vaccination, with both being understood as required in order to avoid continuing health and economic damage. New math and pattern discovery will provide the detection improvements needed to keep the world going on both fronts. Obviously, I've got a poker bet here, but
so Mark, given the rapid, accurate COVID detection, do you think that will help bring down the resistance in the part of the population that they don't want to get vaccinated, they don't want to be tested, if it becomes easier to do, more expensive to do?
Less expensive.
Less expensive, excuse me. And that's your path into the next sports event. You think that's going to help get people over that have been resisting the testing and the vaccination?
Partly. To the degree that resistance is rational, the answer is yes. And we want to be very clear with people that if they're using what we're doing, which is a spit test, we don't keep the spit. So they're not giving away their DNA, they're not giving anything, right?
That's good.
So people who are worried about government intervention or invasion, no problem. They're just going to get a test, that's done. But there's a part of the population, and I know you know this, worldwide, which is linking anything that has to do with government or with, I don't know what, politics, with politics. So, there are people who don't wear masks to prove that they're Republicans, or who do wear masks to prove that they're Democrats. And they're walking around outdoors, right? If you see somebody walking around outdoors with a mask on, that's a Democrat. So,
unfortunately,
that crowd of folks who are not doing things for safety's sake or science sake, I don't think we get a shot at those guys so well. I don't know.
Just trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I hope it does what you're saying, but I'm not making a bet on that one. But maybe half of them, would come over. Yeah.
Well, ease of use has always been important in technology.
That's right.
So maybe
it's quick.
Yeah.
It's really quick. It's like walking through a TSA thing, but faster. Right. The other thing is there's the governments of the world and people who own companies, small business. If this frees them economically, they're going to put an awful lot of pressure on people. Like, come on,
Right.
You want to go to the football game? Do this.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it'll help. Yeah. All right, number 3. Everyone makes chips, and chips are for everyone. We leave the era of chip monopolies and rapidly move into a completely new era of technological innovation at the most basic, often commercial levels. Forget Intel, welcome Ford and General Motors. Forget PCs, servers, and smartphones, and welcome smart everything.
Ooh, I like and loathe the idea of smart everything.
Dangerous.
Yeah, super dangerous.
Yeah.
So when you think about chips being for everyone and pervasive across brands, what does that evoke for you?
Well, what I'm trying to say here is that it's being taken out of the hands of monopolists.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have all these shorts, right now we're really short supply of all kinds of chips, and it's breaking down everything from making shirts to making cars. And so clearly the economy needs that, needs to have more chips made by more different people. You can't just have 3 companies selling chips to everybody.
Yeah.
And there's a deeper aspect of this, which is the nature of chips is going to change from just being driven by the size of the channel in the chip. That's been for 30 years, that's been the story, to being driven by software. So if you have software for an autonomous car, you're going to put that into a chip.
Yeah.
Well, GM might do that. Maybe we don't need Intel for that. Now, the first iteration, it'll be Intel. The second iteration, GM's just going to buy the plant and go, thanks, Intel, for your help, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. So the supply chain problems will go away in that way, and the progress in chips and what they do will move away from the nanometer story toward the software story, the function story.
Yeah.
So if you need a chip to, regulate water temperature, they have that already. I mean, someone else can make that. You don't have to have Intel make that.
Yeah.
That's already happening, but it'll happen much faster now.
So do you see the bottlenecks then being around the brand that's producing that offering?
I don't think there's going to be a bottleneck.
Okay.
I think that's the point of this prediction, is that there won't be a bottleneck. The bottleneck's going to get blown away, and we're going to have a lot of makers of chips.
Yeah.
A lot of money is flowing in already from the governments of the world and from the existing chip makers, but there's a lot of money flowing from the car companies.
Yeah.
There are there's going to be countries, states, cities even, will be putting money into chips.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4, we accept the world of absolute insecurity, from IoT and home networks to ad tracking, the surveillance state, and completely invasive vendor behavior. Yes, you know who you are. While security companies remain prosperous, no one and nothing is trusted to be secure. This has a deep psychological effect on citizens, customers, and partners, in addition to the mammoth hidden tax put onto people, companies, and transactions by this forever condition of theft and loss.
So Mark, kind of a combination of this prediction and the last one. I know somebody who has in their household smart music, smart light bulbs, smart thermostat, smart garage door. What's their risk of getting hacked, and what's that going to do to their household, with everything connected smartly? And the business about insecurity and the fact that is it inevitable that this is going to get hacked?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Then what do they do?
Regret putting all that stuff in.
So then
you come home, your door's open. Why is your door open? Somebody hacked your door.
Yeah.
Or you find out that there's a movie of you and your wife in your bed, and who took that picture of you using your camera, right? And it got on the internet, right? Who put it on the internet?
Yeah.
And you go, I shouldn't have done that, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's no question that's going to happen. So the question is, human question, how do you deal with that?
Yeah,
how do you feel about that?
Right.
Paul.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, I've got a Amazon Alexa in my office. It's unplugged. I haven't plugged it in for years.
Okay.
I have an Echo Dot in my office. It's still in the box, unopened.
Okay.
I don't have anything in my house like that.
So that's where I was going with that, is for those that have embraced all this smart technology and the risk of getting hacked, are people just going to back off? Like there was a period where people were canceling their Facebook accounts because, their information was going everywhere? I mean,
that will happen. There will be events where someone's house gets broken into or gets murdered or whatever. There will be things that happen where it'll cause a large response. But I think what I'm trying to say here is that some people will just give up. It's kind of like COVID.
Yeah.
They're just going to give up, right? Like, okay, I guess I have no security.
Yeah.
And if there's a hacking event, they'll go, okay, I guess that was normal.
Right.
It is going to be the new normal. I mean, right now, we already live in a world where everything, how many times do you think our personal information has been stolen by China and Russia in the last 12 months?
Don't tell me.
More than one. I'll tell you. So gigantic thefts, like hundreds of millions of people. So none of us are secure anymore.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of either some will keep fighting it and some will resist and some won't.
Okay.
So here comes China, number 5. China becomes a pariah state, at last seen for what it really is and really does to its own people and to others. Disengagement by the free world moves from a so-called impossibility 2 years ago to a staged inevitability for all who can protect themselves.
Well, we're coming right up upon the Olympics.
True. Is that a question?
It is a question.
What is your
So
question, Mary?
share a little bit about unpacking this disengagement and how you think that's going to play out over the course of this year.
You mean the Olympics?
The Olympics and beyond. Whether the Olympics will have a role in this.
The IOC has no ethics that I can see. They would probably be proud to say that, in a way. I mean, they wouldn't like to say it that way, but they pride themselves on it's just about sports, you know? And I think that that's both noble and stupid. You'll remember maybe the Olympics when Hitler was in power.
Yeah.
Right? And that same problem came up. And Jesse Owens, I think, ran that year and made a world record. And, you know, at the same time, it's like, are we supporting Hitler?
Yeah.
And Hitler sure thought so.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for a fact, Xi Jinping is betting on this.
Yep.
He, you know, Mr. Dictator of all time, way beyond Hitler,
Yeah.
he needs this.
Yep.
He needs it domestically, and he needs it internationally.
Yeah.
So we're helping him.
Yep.
I don't believe in helping him.
Yep.
I don't believe in dictators. I don't believe in the Communist Party of China. I don't believe that we should be helping a country that has concentration camps.
Yeah.
I made a joke in a video we made last week, and I was saying, you know, the companies like Apple that are trading secretly with the Communist Party right now, which came out last week. You know, in 1939, in Invent IP, we said, it's kind of like 1939. It's like when IBM and Ford were selling tanks and computers to Hitler before the war,
Yep.
knowing pretty well that there might be a war. And then they kept doing it after the war.
Yep.
Well, now I think we're in 1941 with China. And so, you know, when Tim Cook says whatever he's going to say, hi, Tim, there's a reason why, you know, I won't buy anything from Xinjiang, but I'll buy it from Beijing, right?
Yeah.
Shanghai. Imagine how stupid that is.
Yep.
And silly and unethical. So imagine that you're in 1941 and Ford goes, well, I'm not going to buy I'm not going to sell any cars or tanks, you know, to Dachau and Auschwitz, but I'll sell them to Berlin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
There's nothing about that makes sense. That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you think about disengagement, what do you think that's going to look like?
It's already started. The funny thing about this, let's see, what can I say about this? This has been on the table for a long time, both financially and in terms of trade.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting once with a 3-letter agency where I was briefing them, and one of the people there said, well, we can't do anything to upset them because they own so much of our debt.
Yeah.
I said, do you know how much they own? He goes, well, and I said, I know exactly how much they own. I said what it was. It was about 6%.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, that's 2 bad quarters for America.
Yeah.
That would be the end of China.
Yeah.
If we disengage, they're done. They cannot possibly exist without us.
Yeah.
It'd be 2 bad quarters for America. Take the hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of greed. There's a lot of personal salaries and short-term Wall Street issues there. But, you know, get over it.
Yeah.
You're trading with the enemy. There's a name for that. And no one's going to want to be in that seat when it really becomes that day, you know, when that law gets passed by Congress or when we put out a regulation saying if you were trading with the enemy, so be smart, stop doing it now.
Yeah.
Do it voluntarily.
That's right.
Okay, let's see, number 6. SpaceX turns out to be well named since it now owns the commercial space. No one else is even close. From Virgin to NASA to Boeing and the Launch Alliance, outside the Earth's atmosphere, Elon is an emperor.
So Mark, is a former pilot, this is very exciting stuff. So Elon's done the car, he's done the spaceship. Is he looking at something in between of a aerial people mover to get me from Bellingham to Seattle without having to jump on I-5?
It's probably the only thing that I don't think he's doing. There are a lot of other people doing that.
Yeah.
Like the Google guys are doing that.
Right.
So there are no lack, and Washington, as you know, is a kind of a hotbed for that. So no question that we're going to see the Germans and the Americans and other people making those craft. And they'll be autonomous, and they'll be commuter craft, basically. You go from Seattle to Bellingham or something.
Right.
So I think Elon's got much higher goals. He announced this last week that his most important project at Tesla now is a robot, a human robot. Elon is...
How does that relate to building cars?
They'll build cars.
Oh, the robots
Yeah.
are factory workers.
They'll take
Okay,
the
got
dangerous work out of the assembly line.
it. Got it.
When he was starting SpaceX, he flew up to Friday Harbor, where I live, to ask if I thought it was a good idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had lunch. You know.
I'm impressed.
Okay. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. If you put me on your advisory board, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And everything that I've seen about him, he gets a lot of crap from people. I think Earth is lucky to have him.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you look at what he's doing and what drives him, in my opinion, is he decides what the planet needs, and then he figures out all the other stuff. How to afford it, how to capitalize, how to build it, who to talk to, you know, all the engineering. But the first question isn't how do I make money? The first question is, do we need to have electric cars so we can get free of gasoline? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason he started Tesla, we didn't start it, the only reason he took over Tesla was because he wanted to get GM and Ford to make electric cars. That was his whole motivation. He was going to push the big guys. It wasn't for him to be in that business, it was for them to be in that business.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
So anyhow, yeah, I agree with you. I think he will also be an emperor on Mars. So we can go on that one some other time and talk about that.
All right.
All right. 7, consumer spending goes up in the West as too many years in COVID isolation drives enhanced consumption, particularly of luxury items for oneself. This category is led by cars, and cars, with lots of expensive art, rare scotch, and other collectible close behind as the category of alternative assets investment explodes, hedging against inflation.
Yes.
Yes. You want some? You want to buy a Monet? I got a Monet for you. Don't you think so? I mean, I think
guess.
syndicates of people are going to be buying Monets or, you know, expensive this and that have higher growth rates and value than bonds or stock,
Yeah.
and aren't subject necessarily to the same pressures either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder what the role of signaling is going to be as well. So.
What kind of signaling?
Oh, just having luxury brands.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So
That Gucci bag.
getting back out in
Yeah.
public,
Yeah.
having the luxury brands.
Yep. Well, we agree.
Yeah.
Okay, number 8. The not so well hidden internal contraction and or collapse of China's domestic economic machine accelerates, with TELs moving beyond property development and related markets and into an increasing number of sectors with higher bankruptcy rates and more desperate, if secret, corporate bailouts by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. There are no private companies now in China. And new dictator for life, Xi, although worshipped by children brainwashed on Xi thought, that's a thing, a real thing, is no longer the popular guy he so recently was. And I'll mention something before we start here.
Okay.
3 days ago, somebody came out on this. One of the fun things about doing predictions is pretty quickly things start to pop off. And there appears to be an underground movement about Xi not being quite as popular as he recently was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, Mark, tracking you for years, you've been talking about how the interior of China, which we can't see because it's a communist country, has real fundamental problems. And you've been talking about the collapse. Is it going to happen in 2022? I mean, really, so that everybody can see it, or are they?
You're seeing it already.
Or do
You're
they?
seeing it already.
Okay.
It's not when, it's now. It's been going on. We put the word out in January of 2015. But
Yeah.
you got to realize you've got a dictator who has complete control of the population.
Right.
So it's not about the interior. It's about the fact that we were the first to understand their national business model at Invent IP. And as you know, we briefed all the three-letter agencies around the world. They didn't know it. I was there to see that.
Right.
So when a dictator who has absolute control of the population, what they think, what they're allowed to say, even inside their own home, then when the collapse begins, it's like that old joke about if a tree falls in the desert, wherever it's falling.
Right.
There aren't any trees in the desert. But, that's the problem is you have lockdown control. When you read about China, you find out, there were, 15,000 violent riots last year. Really? Did you hear about any of them?
No.
So that's what I mean. You don't necessarily
right.
get the news. And you don't get the news about the economy. The numbers are not properly reported. And in general, the way that you would notice the collapse would be, it's almost like a joke. The dike is, you have, how many fingers can you put in the dike? At some point, the dike's going to break. But
Well, that was really my question. Is that
is it this year?
right?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a year. I just think it'll be like, everything starts shaking more and more.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be a climactic event, but the thing I'm describing will be, when you start seeing banks fail, that's already happened. When you see massive companies, top companies in the country, Onbang Insurance, biggest company, fail, complete fail. Evergrande, biggest, fail, complete fail. So that's already happening.
Okay.
And the important part here isn't about even that. It's that this national business model is a very tightly integrated thing. It's a machine. And so it's not about does this thing fall off the machine or does that. It's when the internal parts of this, like the banking system,
Right.
are starting to collapse, the whole thing will fail. But after it fails, how would you know? There's no market.
Yeah.
They don't have a market. They don't have private companies. Huawei is not going to evaporate.
Right.
So the government will just print more money and give it to Huawei. So it's hard for Americans or anybody in the free world to appreciate the difference between how we see economics or money or productivity or what do you want to say in that world compared to how they see it.
So I have a question related to this, but about Alibaba, but we'll keep going here in
All
the
right.
interest of time. We'll cycle
I
back.
remember that prediction so well that day in 2015 when we had our predictions
Yeah,
and how the crowd responded
Yeah, right.
to your prediction.
Yeah, well, now we can look back to that year and go,
Yeah.
that happened, and that happened, and
Yeah.
that happened, and that happened.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of pieces of the machine falling away. Number 9, the climate struggle is joined. Faced with certain damage, agreed science, and the threat of new mega events, and encouraged by international consensus, the world seriously begins the exciting and painful move away from generations of terracide. Things go faster than predicted only a year ago. That's you, right?
Yeah. Tell us more about terracide.
I love that word. Isn't it good?
It's a good word.
I made it up.
Well, yeah, and it makes so much sense.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
You're killing your planet.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
It ought to be a crime. Shouldn't it be a crime? Like if somebody knowingly
Yeah.
kills the planet or tries to, there's got to be a penalty for that.
Right.
Well, that's a criminalized word. I mean, terracide.
Terracide,
Yeah.
the T-shirt. Well, so I really think that things are going to go faster. Everyone's pretty gloomy about all this right now, and we have to all stop being. We're gloomy because of the internet. We're not gloomy because of the world, and the world needs help. But it's not that we can't do it. It's just that we have to.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, which I don't think will happen, but it's a good example. It's like Einstein mind experiment. So I had this idea a few months ago. I called up Larry Smarr, who's one of my best friends. Said, "What do you think?" He said, "Yeah, he's really smart." So here it is. And I called it, let's call it Go Light. Okay, what is it? Whatever the agenda is from the top 20 countries in the world, let it go. Whatever you care about, your farmers or your whatever, just let it go for 5 years.
Yeah.
They're on their own. You take all that money
Yeah.
and put it into solar. 5 years.
I don't object to that.
5 years. Just 5 years. That's not very long.
Yeah.
That's a blink.
Yeah.
That's two crickets talking to each other.
Yeah.
5 years later, we're done.
Yeah.
We saved the planet.
Yeah.
We are completely done.
Yeah.
I don't think this is wrong. I mean, I think it's true. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's a good example that if the world got serious
Yeah.
and really understood that this is the end of life as we know it, take a little time out, build out the solar thing, go back to work.
Back to your first point as
Yeah.
well on batteries.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's doable.
Yeah.
It just requires willpower.
Yeah.
I do think that we're going to be further down the pike than people thought. Yeah. Okay, number 10. We're almost done here. The world economic war for a middle class becomes a defining and now public fight and characterizes a policy pivot away from globalism and the ownership class and towards the neglected goals of reshoring manufacturing, restoring jobs, and increasing middle class incomes.
So I'm a little bit in the middle of this with our family business. And so my question is about restoring the middle class and their income and their position in our country. How do you reconcile a product being produced in China versus one in the United States where the big delta is the difference in labor paid?
Right.
How do you...
I have two answers.
Okay.
First, do not trade with the enemy. And that's enough. I don't have to give you the second answer.
But then
Don't trade with the enemy.
Okay.
Don't send Hitler tanks. Don't send American dollars to Xi Jinping, because you know it's going to be used against you. So don't do that. That's the moral answer. The economic answer is when Walmart is my favorite example of your question.
Okay.
Okay, so the Walton family, right, Sam? You'll remember when that company was all America all the time, right? It was like they had American flags all over the place.
Right.
Every product was called Made in America. That was Walmart.
Right.
Today it's like 95% Chinese. It is the top distributor of Chinese goods, except Jeff Bezos is trying to beat them as usual in that category too. So what happened, you know? And what happened was somebody dumber than us made the decision that a cheap price was worth more than a good job. So what you hear is, oh, we have to build them in China because they're 15% more if we build them here, right? Sleeping bags, whatever. And you know, ask yourself, all those little shops that got wiped out in the nearby town, and all those manufacturers that filled those shelves in America that had middle-class jobs here, the people who could have had those jobs would rather have the job and pay 15% more for the item than not have the job.
Couldn't agree with, I agree with everything you said, Mark. The problem is, how do we make that conversion? Because if...
Stop doing it.
But everybody has to do it at once.
Yes,
And
that's true.
And so to me, that...
No,
that
your point is a good one.
Well, yeah. Who's going to be
When we
first
disengage,
yeah,
we need to all disengage at the same time.
that's right.
Not just in America. Australia, America, Germany, good luck with Germany,
Yeah.
and EU and UK, but we're getting there.
Well,
You're seeing the first early shoots of companies just voluntarily pulling out. They're putting stuff in Vietnam or in Mexico or something, but they're pulling out. And so it's happening. Pressure from us doing this show. It's got to be a lot of talk from the people who buy those things saying, you know what, I'm not going to buy that damn car anymore. That Volvo was made in China. It's a Chinese company. I'm not buying that. You can't fool me. You know, it's not a Swedish car.
Right.
No, don't buy any Volvos. So, you know, that kind of thing is exactly what we have to do. And bit by bit, it'll become more, it's never going to be 100%.
Yeah.
But it will be more than zero. It's going to be 50% or 25%.
Well, it certainly would help if Walmart, to use your example tomorrow, say we're just cutting off
Absolutely.
products from China. That would help the rest of us smaller guys.
It would. It would help if Jeff Bezos stopped being the #1 source of counterfeited goods, copycat made in China. Knowingly did that. Still doing it today. Well, now it's Andy Jassy. Hired 5 people to moderate that problem, knowing full well that 100 million things were coming over the door, right?
Yeah.
How are 5 people going to do 100 million things? No way.
Yeah.
So he had a little lip service, like we hired some guys.
Right. Yeah.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
So stop doing that. Don't become the #1 source of goods that drive the real people who made those things, invented those things, out of business. Stop it.
Yeah.
That ought to be a terroricide-like crime, you know? All right.
It's time to get Paul out of the hot seat and
Yes.
bring our audience in for
Thank
some
you, Paul.
awesome Q&A.
Thank you, Paul.
This was so much fun to take on this new format.
In our living room here.
Our living room, thanks to Josh Burdick from Veritas.
My living room doesn't look like this.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
So, dear Michael,
Yes.
Do you have questions?
One, fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
We have a few questions from the audience, and we have a heavier one to start. What is a recent prediction that you have been the most hesitant to predict? Maybe
That's an interesting question.
the gravity of a prediction or something similar.
Oh, I know the answer. Now, there's a difference between a prediction and a discovery. Sometimes they're related to each other. You might discover something that leads you to a prediction. I'm not going to be. You're not going to be happy with my answer.
Okay.
I was working. I think, like many of us, I've been really troubled by American division in America. Whether it's D.C., Congress' inability to even talk to each other, or whether it's things at home, you know, just everywhere you turn, everyone is angry with everybody else, and there's nothing but anger and me. You know, I'm more important than you. Whatever I care about makes me mad at you, and I want mine, and you don't get yours. And I thought there must be. It wasn't logical, you know. I mean, you saw people doing things. People dying from COVID wouldn't wear a mask or wouldn't get. It wasn't logical. Still didn't believe in COVID as they were dying. You know, that's why our healthcare workers are quitting. They're so disgusted with these people. And they think, well, they're not smart or they're not rational. That's not it. It's deeper than that. And I was trying to figure out, okay, do a deep dive. What is it? And I think I figured it out.
What is it?
I'm not going to tell you. So, which is your question, right? So, yes, there are things that I find out either as a discovery or could lead to a prediction that I'm reluctant to be public about because they would be damaging to say them. I think the best answer to what I just said is I think there's a way out of that. Obviously, the internet itself is causing a lot of this, but behind that are human beings, and so there is a thing that we could do that would get us out of this rut. So I hope that happens. But talking about the thing that makes people really, really mad isn't the right way to solve it.
Yeah, compassion overload is
Yeah.
something I was thinking when you were talking about the nurses and dealing with COVID patients.
I think they're really angry with the people who put them at risk because they are knowingly putting them at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's the other question?
More, yes.
I think a question that came through to me too. Are you ready?
Go for it.
So when you think about the energy that happened at the CTO challenge, and if we were to think about creating cultures of discovery, as you used last night, what might be some ways among our tech community and people that we collaborate with that we might create moments of discovery and co-creation?
Right. Well, so we talked for a few minutes last night, but and what we talked about was innovation and how we both hate that word, even though you work on innovation all the time.
I work. Yep.
I hate that word. And the reason I hate it is because it's been overused.
Yeah.
And people who aren't innovative talk about it all the time. It's almost like a disease. Like the more they talk about it, the less.
Monetization. Yeah.
So I've decided, and I worked with a principal group on this, and that was a lot of fun with Ed. So when I started thinking about innovation, I thought, well, in my world, I would call that discovery. And that's a thing you can measure in a way that you can't really measure innovation, I think. So when I was working with principal, I said, let's start by that. Let's not talk about innovation. Let's say that innovation is really discovery. Now, how can we increase discovery at the company, right? And that's a pretty easy question to answer. And so, you know, that's what we were doing in the CTO challenge.
Yep.
So one thing you could do just right out of the gate would be to have things like CTO challenges in companies.
Yeah.
So whether you're making ice cream or computers, it would be not hard to get teams of people from different levels in the company, all in one room, from different sectors that are evolving with making computers or ice cream, and then give them a lot of freedom. Nobody fails here. Failing is fine. And then a timetable, and meet here, and you've got 1 week to solve this.
Yeah.
And I think that what would happen would be they would really try hard.
Yeah.
And they would get, they'd have different walks of life, different attitudes, and different levels of understanding. So the financial guy would have this, and the woman from, invention side would have that. But after a week, they'd have something. It'd be really cool. It could be a contest company-wide. You could do, 10 of these inside a large corporation, or 20, and then you have a winner team. Everyone wants to win, and everyone gets rewarded. There are no losers, just winners.
Yeah.
I think that would be really effective.
Yeah.
It'd be fun for the people. It would do a little bit to break through what they sometimes call the frozen middle. It's like you'd have big guys and little women, and big women and little guys, and all these guys talking to each other. And it would probably be productive. I think that it would actually lead to great discoveries. Yeah, that'd be cool. Cool thing to do. I hope you do it.
That's my life.
Yeah,
I love it. That's
hope you do more of it. More of it.
And I think our final question that we'll end here on, how do we address the growing digital divide of jobs needing expanding technology skills and a large segment of the population lacking those skills?
Yeah, that's a really hard one.
Yeah.
And I would think it goes beyond just digital divide. That's kind of implies computing, but it could be engineering, it could be mathematics, anything higher order thought, right? Higher education, higher training, the Germans do a pretty good job. And I think there are two parts to this. One is stop whining. I'm pretty tough.
Yeah.
That doesn't do any good. Just demanding things, whether it's money or whatever you want to demand, won't get you there. I don't care who you are. It won't get you there. A sincere effort from industry and from the government to train, like the Germans do. I think the Swedes do it too. I mean, it's a Nordic thing. But I would like to see things like free community college. I think that was a nice idea. But basically, the idea is everyone's going to be good at something. You don't have to be good at quantum mechanics. You can be really good at building cars. We have to bring cars back, manufacturing back.
Yes.
But, do it. Bring that back. And then people can get very good jobs building beautiful things that don't have to be doing quantum mechanics. Yeah. They will have to care about working hard and getting it done. They'll have to take merit tests after they're trained to see if they can actually do that thing. Yeah. Build that bridge. Fine. It'll work.
Yeah. Hard work and create something.
Yeah. Be generous and work hard. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we're at time. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you.
That was fun.
That was so fun.
Thank you, Meg, and thank you, Paul, wherever you are.
Thank you, Paul.
We are ending our predictions event here from Bellingham, Washington, at Veritas Media and Studio V. You've been watching our TAG annual kickoff and Mark's 2022 predictions. Thank you, Mark. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.